behaviour was definitely something that was at the forefront of my mind in my first year, and there was quite a few things that are surprisingly simple but really turned behaviour management around very quickly. Very quickly I stopped using the word silence, because silence for you means something completely different for the students. So I've started using the phrase no voices, because it's very clear. There is no miscommunication or misunderstanding whatsoever that can be possible. And if any of my students do speak after I've said no voices, I can either choose to get annoyed with them and have a bit of a go at them, or just ridicule them and sort of ask them, do you understand what I mean by no voices? Do I need to explain that to you? And that generally tends to quell any bad behaviour pretty quickly.
A really settled, calm start to the lesson. A silent starter is our school policy. So I thought, get this one thing nailed and then hopefully the rest will start fitting into place. Because if you focus on too many routines at once, they're just going to get confused. So that was my goal. And I went through different routes to get there, but we did eventually get there in the end. So I'm hoping when they come back, they will have remembered some routines.
In my first lesson with them, it was completely chaotic. And because I went in there and my approach was, I didn't really think proactively about what I was going to do. I just thought I'll go in there and then whatever happens, I'll react to the behaviour. So the kids were just being very disruptive. They were talking to each other. They weren't following my instructions, and I realised a lot of that was down to sort of me and the fact that when I was sort of explaining tasks, because this was the first lesson that I'd ever taught, I didn't go in there thinking, well, if I tell them to go and do this activity, I need to tell them how long they have for the activity. I need to tell them if they need to stick their sheet in. I need to tell them if they can write in pen or pencil. Just these very basic questions that I had never thought of before. I just hadn't thought of before. So the kids were then asking me the questions and then getting confused. And then because they didn't know what to do, they just decided to misbehave.
Always make it about praise if possible. So if you've got a class of 30 students and you've got that one, it's always that one student that just won't stop talking, and then he or she drags more students into that little ball of chatting. I found it's really helpful to then, instead of having a go at them, just praise everyone else. Just praise someone in the room going, oh, this one's working really well. This is brilliant. I love the work that you're doing. That's amazing. Because you'll be surprised how quickly the rest of the class just goes, oh yeah, I want to be included in that. And then as soon as they are doing what you want them to do, tell them that immediately. It's like, even if they're doing what you wanted them to do for half a nanosecond, tell them. So keep doing that. That's brilliant. Keep that. I want you to keep on doing that.
Try not to give any warnings out in the first 5 minutes, because it just sets the whole lesson off on a negative. So I will do everything I can possibly to praise them on something. Like Tom was saying, find any reason you can to praise them. Well done, you've took your bag off. Like, I would literally do anything to not have to give the negatives out from the get-go.
And as Tom said, and as Jess was saying, praise is so effective. In her lessons with them, I noticed that she was always praising the majority of the class for following what she wanted to do. I remember a moment where she was trying to get the class to make sure they always had positive body language, because they were all very negative. They were all sort of slouched down. And at one point in the lesson, there were 2 kids who were slouched down, but she thanked everyone for having positive body language. And those 2 kids corrected their body language without the teacher actually pointing them out. They just corrected them because she had praised the whole class and they wanted to fit in with that positive, into that positive classroom.
Yeah, positive language. I liked also what Tom said about not saying be quiet. Try and just focus on the positives and remind them of what they should be doing rather than telling them off for what they are doing.
If you have a reward system, absolutely use it.
Keeping behaviour at the forefront of my planning and thinking about what do I want the kids to be doing at each point in the lesson. Do I want them to be quiet? Do I want them to be talking to their partner? If so, how loud do I want them to be? And making sure I had very clear expectations of what I wanted.
Be really consistent, everyday, same thing, and a really like a recognisable starter. It ended up being a department policy anyway that we started doing retrieval starters. So 5 questions on the board of what they did over the last couple of lessons, maybe picking random questions from the topics before to bring back that retrieval practice.
Actually explaining to the students why they've got the warning before giving it to them has stopped about 90% of all battles in the classroom. It's just, you were talking, when I asked you not to talk, you know that means I've got to give you a warning. And 90% of the time it's just, fair enough, sir, sorry. And they shut up and get on with it.
I really worked on relationships for the first few weeks of school, getting to know them, or how was that football game on Saturday, so and so, like just trying to get, or how did you go to town at the weekend, did you buy that t-shirt or something, you know, like trying to remember things that they'd said to me, to try and like build up those relationships like at the door with that meet and greet.